Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me once again. Well, I did a video several days ago about the mainstream media. As you know, and I'm sure many of you join me in this thought as well, I'm very critical of them and their role in the way, well, things are perceived in everyday life and how they try and force us to believe things about events, people, and other stuff. Well, this is the thumbnail that I did with that video, and you can go back and watch it. They got this so wrong. Now, this video was centered around the idea of the fact that you can get an individual on the news and interview them. And in this case, I'm referring to Ben Habib. Steer them aggressively down a certain line of questioning and imply they've admitted something that they actually haven't. And then it explodes everywhere. I'm talking about GB News. I'm talking about Talk TV, all this sort of thing. Ben Habib actually went on Talk TV, and it was Julia Hartley-Brewer who the interview was surrounding. So I wanted to go through some of your comments and see what you had to say about this whole situation and the media in general. So here we go. Maureen Barkley. I know folk have had enough of the narrative. They're so out of touch, but they don't have to live with the consequences. No, you're right, they don't. They look good with their lefty friends at Islington cocktail parties. Says it all, doesn't it? It wasn't me. Like that screen name. How anyone can listen to JHB is beyond me. She can't ask a straightforward question without making it a 5 monologue. As soon as a guest attempts to answer, she's off again, jibber-jabbering. A total, utter dose of a woman. I've stopped listening to Talk TV. Every programme, same story, just different talking heads, guests. Yeah, there's another YouTuber I used to know, used to be very fond of pointing out. She used to take about 10 minutes to ask a question. Mickey Droy Boy, who even cares what the media says anymore? Unfortunately, reform won't reform anything. It's still none of the above. Mickey, I do not consent. Not none of the above. User, not watch BBC nor ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 for around 6 to 7 years for this very reason. Trying to influence us to believe what they want. What I want to hear is the true news, not their opinions, which is not as good as my opinion. I have the intelligence to make my own decisions, don't want nor need their dripping rubbish. This is it, isn't it? We got to wake up to the fact, and we've got to make our own minds up and do our own homework on all of this. Richard, agree 100% with Ben Habib. We are not asking the illegals to cross. It's their decision and their risk. The real guilt lies with those who provide them with dinghies for handsome profit, and particularly the French authorities, who are happy to pass on their problem. Agree with the French to allow UK Army to patrol the beaches and disable the dinghies before they reach the water. No sympathy for the illegals, their decision, their risk. I agree with you, Richard. You know, at the end of the day, stop the damn things from leaving the French coastline in the first place. A lot of this is going to be solved. David, Ben Habib sounds good to me. Yeah, he was, you know, it was a media twist job. He was made to look like he said something he never did. Jennifer, she's turned, sadly. Go, Ben. God bless. Talk TV, GB News, they've both come out with some articles, news lately, which I'm thinking, no, why are you going there? You know. Nonny, Julia hardly lets guests speak. I can't watch her anymore. There's a few like that. Boot H, Julia slagged off TR, so she doesn't react in my book, along with Farage for the same reason. William, the last time I ever watched Talk TV was Julia Hartley-Brewer. This was just over 2 years ago. She claimed there were no people of right-wing persuasion similar to what would be found in Central Europe in the early to mid part of the 20th century in Ukraine. This wasn't based on evidence, but that the Ukrainian president shared the same religion to her. So there couldn't be such a problem. This lack of empathy for the majority of the people of eastern Ukraine, or any attempt at real type journalism, nope, just an establishment mouthpiece. This type of poor journalism misleads the public. It's how international relations decline, and our so-called ally has been set up the primrose path of no return. Shame on her, and this sort of article highlights why I don't watch or listen to anything like this. There you go. Exactly. I mean, going back to the comment about interviewing guests and not letting them talk, whenever I've had anyone on here, I give them the courtesy of allowing them to speak and then ask questions every now and again. At the end of the day, they're my guest. They get treated with respect. It's a shame that doesn't happen in the mainstream. Fred, it's a pattern that's been going on for some time now. One media source will twist a comment or action to produce a misleading interpretation that suits them. Then all the other media sources will repeat it ad nauseum until it becomes a fact in the mind of the public, but also in the minds of media pundits themselves. They come to believe their own propaganda. I believe it started in 2016 with Trump's election. The Democrats made all sorts of false allegations against Trump, I remember, as part of the propaganda campaign. But then after the election, they carried on as if their own invention falsehoods were true. They're still doing it to this day, aren't they? It's the establishment against the man at the end of the day. That's what it is over there. David Morris, own fault. The mainstream have lied too many times, costing lives. Its intention. Colin, I don't reform are any threat to the establishment. They're a worry, in my view. We'll have to see how it pans out. Jeff Nichols, GB News showed itself up when so-called guests on their programme outright lied about Tommy and were never challenged. Jacob Rees-Mogg was one notable presenter who did this. I did send an email, but surprise, surprise, I never got a reply. The joke is GB News go on about other stations not challenging outright lies. GB News may not always get things right, but at least they try to give both sides of an argument, unlike the biased BBC, ITV and MSN. And you also hear news that the mainstream won't tell you. Vote reform to save Britain. There's another one. Pat, the mainstream media is owned by the rich, unfortunately. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Well, there you go. All of you are coming out with similar or the same dialogue about the mainstream media, and it's quite obvious just from those selection of comments, nobody's falling for it anymore. And we see it for what it is. And I think in the age of social media, particularly when you see videos like this one you're watching now, the world is a lot smaller and we have access to far more information than we ever did before. So they try and fool you, they try and influence you, and I think, well, hang on a minute, I'll go and look over there and see what that says. And there you go. They've flummoxed again. Well, that was a selection of your comments. Thank you. I'll try and do more of these to give you, a little bit of input into what you've said, because I get so many comments every day. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you're on social media, I wouldn't mind you sharing my stuff. And as always, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.